Thank you, Jack. I love the get off the fence thing. That was awesome. Get off the fence. All right. My name is Shaun Collins. I am the worship associate today, and I am welcoming all of you today who are here or afar on Zoom or however you're dialed in. A hearty welcome to everybody. I'm not only, there they are. Yay. Yeah, I'm a worship associate. I sing in the choir. I'm on the board. Married this wonderful woman back here. So the opening words this morning are adapted from Amelia Gonzalez-Avalos, who is the executive director of Unidos Minnesota, a grassroots organization that builds power with Minnesota's working families to advance social, racial, and economic justice for all. This is what she writes. When we win, Minnesotans, we will spill into the streets in joy. The whistles will sound to samba, 70s music, and cumbia, not militarized threats. Lake Street, 7th Street, and Cesar Chavez Avenue will become a living river of people, elders in lawn chairs nodding to the beat, kids chalking peace signs on the pavement, bikes rolling slow with flags from everywhere. In Hmong Village, aunties hand you food, whether you asked for it or not. Someone's uncle is DJing from the back of a pickup, blending bhangra into hip-hop and cumbia into powwow drums, and somehow it all works. We'll remember we belong to one another. We will dance badly and proudly. We will hug without explanation. We will argue about recipes, not whether someone deserves to live with dignity. When we win, healthcare becomes something boring and reliable, like clean water. No GoFundMe emergencies, no cardboard boxes in grocery stores, no choosing between insulin and rent. Teachers and nurses make top living because they are top holders of society. When we win, money loosens its grip on our democracy. Elections stop feeling like auctions and start feeling like conversations. Young people run, elders advise. Voters feel powerful again. We have political vehicles for and by the people, not the donor class. Immigration becomes a story of welcome instead of punishment. Papers stop mattering more than people. Families stay together. Newcomers help shape the future instead of hiding from it. We finally say out loud, movement is human. We fund good food, schools, hospitals, housing, arts, not war, not fossil fuels. Peaceful times don't mean nothing is wrong. They mean we know how to disagree without destroying each other. We build conflict resolution into schools, workplaces, city halls. We practice repair. We are good at apology. Years later, our grandkids will ask, what changed? And we tell them, we chose each other. We tell them about the music, the food, the way the streets felt alive. We tell them that multiracial solidarity was a practice. We tell them about Renee and Alex. We tell them how we organized and protected people. We showed up dressed in frog, unicorn, and dinosaur suits and layered up and marched in negative 20-degree Fahrenheit. We tell them how we defeated authoritarianism and got together to pass deep reform, to protect the vulnerable, to imagine further. And they look at the world they inherited, more just, more colorful, more kind, and they say, thank you. It's possible when we win. Come, let us worship together. This next reading is a statement from Matt Moberg. He is the chaplain of Minnesota Timberwolves. This is what he says. If you're a church posting prayers for peace and unity today, while my city bleeds in the street, miss me with that softness you only wear when it costs you nothing. Don't dress avoidance up as holiness. Don't call silence peacemaking. Don't light a candle and think it substitutes for showing up. Today, an ICE agent took a photo of me next to my car, looked me in the eye and told me, "We'll be seeing you soon." Not metaphor, not hyperbole. A threat dressed up in a badge and a paycheck. Peace isn't what you ask for when the boot is already on someone's neck. Peace is what the powerful ask for when they don't want to be interrupted. Unity isn't neutral. Unity that refuses to name violence is just loyalty to the ones holding the weapons. Stop using scripture like chloroform. Stop calling your fear wisdom. Stop pretending Jesus was crucified because he preached good vibes and personal growth. You don't get to quote scripture like a lullaby while injustice stays wide awake. You don't get to ask God to heal the land if you won't even look at the wound. There is a kind of peace that only exists because it refuses to tell the truth. That peace is a lie, and lies don't grow anything worth saving. The scriptures you love weren't written to keep things calm. They were written to set things right. And sometimes the most faithful thing you can do is to stop praying around the pain and start standing inside it. If that makes you uncomfortable, good. Growth always is.
Ice out. For good. Ice out. For good. Ice out. For good. On the morning of January 7th, in a neighborhood of South Minneapolis, the all too familiar sounds of whistles and horns started blaring out. These are alarms that are sounded by neighborhood patrols to warn everyone that ICE is in the area. These patrols, by the way, just made up of neighbors, just like you. These sounds alert those at risk to stay in their homes, and those who are observers to come out and make more noise and get out their cameras and record what is happening and do whatever they can to prevent or disrupt ICE from disappearing one more of their neighbors. The alert happening that particular moment, that morning, was not far from where George Floyd was murdered in 2020, just a few blocks. The people that live there know all too well how to respond to unrest. They know that it is up to them to care and protect one another, not in thought or prayer or in theory, not by calling their elected leaders who respond too slow and not enough. They know that it's up to them to respond in literal practice of using their bodies and their resources to help their neighbors. So that's what they were doing. Renee Good, a poet, wife, a mother, and a good neighbor, was one of those folks who showed up to sound the alarm that morning to prevent parents from being taken by their children, or to prevent other parents from being taken from their children. Because ICE was near the school that morning. and it was her love of her neighbor that got her murdered by ICE. Now, the community response was immediate. Minnesotans are used to this. They take to the streets. In the bitter, cold streets of Minneapolis, they gathered with their rage and their grief. And they shouted and they cried, not just for Renee, but for the more than 3,000 immigrants who have been taken from that area since Operation Metro Surge started. Organizers also were responding and connecting to one another. Reverend Ashley Horan, who's the Vice President of Programs and Ministries at the Unitarian Universalist Association, and Reverend Terry Bernor, who's the current Executive Director of Moose Jaw, which stands for Minnesota UU Social Justice Alliance, both good friends of mine. They were connecting with March Minnesota. March stands for Multi-Faith, Anti-Racism, Change, and Healing. March is a coalition of congregations across the Twin Cities that brings churches and people together in the face of injustice and in promoting rights for traditionally marginalized communities. Interesting note about March, it's smaller than a lot of the other interfaith communities because it is the pro-LGBTQ interfaith organization, and a lot of the other interfaith organizations are not pro-LGBTQ. Though we work together, they work together, March and the other interfaith groups, on lots of things, including immigration. So the March folks are on a call, and they decide they're going to do something, and 24 hours later, they issued a national call for religious professionals from across the country to come to Minneapolis. Now, like I said, March is a smaller group. It's scrappy. It's a little scrappy organization coalition. There's no leader. There's no executive director. There's no staff, right? It's just a group of clergy and other religious professionals that get together. Over the course of the next 6 days, they coordinated a growing number of folks who said they were coming to answer the call. They expected maybe a couple of hundred people show up. Estimates are that between 900 and 1,200 people from across the country showed up. They were overwhelmed and constantly pivoting to figure out how to make room for us. Undeterred, they found a bigger space for us to meet, and they organized listening sessions for us to attend. A very grand and amazing church downtown turned over their entire campus to those who gathered for the 2-day event, and they put security around our gathering to keep us safe, Congregations offered homestays. The Unitarian Universalist Association, the Unitarian Universalist Ministers Association, and Side with Love, and local UU colleagues helped to organize the UUs who are coming. And let me tell you about the UUs who came. We numbered over 200, plus the more than 24 local colleagues that are there. To give you a scope of that, there's roughly 1,000 UU clergy in the country, right, that are active right now in various jobs as chaplains, as parish ministers, as community ministers. So a quarter, the equivalent of a quarter of us showed up. Churches and synagogues opened their doors to feed us. Hundreds of folks donated coats and boots and winter gear to equip us for being outside in the sub-zero temperatures, which did not reach above 10 below while we were there, with wind chills at minus 20 to minus 40. Most of you know that I just moved here from Minnesota in the summer, so I brought all my winter gear back with me. We were greeted with open arms by colleagues who were exhausted, depleted, grieving, and also full of fierce love. They could not believe how many of us came, and they let our love and support seep deeply into them. And they knew that we did not come alone. They knew that we were bringing your love and support, that we were representative of the congregations, of the neighborhoods, of the states, of the regions of the country that we were representing. And they asked two things of us while we were there. One was to witness the horrific oppression and fear that was happening there and to take it back to you. And the second was to witness their resilience, their love of neighbor that is happening there, and to bring it back to you. So I'm bringing it back. The first day I was there, after hearing testimony and singing with all of these beautiful ministers and other religious professionals from across the country, after we were gathered in a big group, they had smaller groups for us, and by small, I don't mean that small, groups of 40, 50, 75 people to go and hear about various things. I was in a group that was led by Reverend Kelly Sherman Conroy. She serves All Nations Church in South Minneapolis. And she was giving us an introduction about how to be a street chaplain in this environment, how to be a calm, non-anxious presence in the streets that there are filled with trauma and chaos. So she talked a little bit about that, and I knew Reverend Kelly. I'd worked with her before, so I knew that she would share things from her heart as well, because she tells stories, and she told us of this experience that she had recently had. Reverend Kelly, who's a member of the Oglala Lakota tribe, was driving around one day alone after running some errands, and she noticed that she was being followed by what appeared to be an ICE vehicle. ICE vehicles are typically SUVs or minivans. They usually have tinted windows. They almost always have out-of-state license plates. The vehicle behind her was matching her every turn and met this description. And in her rearview mirror, she could see that there were multiple passengers in the car, which is also another telltale sign because they travel in packs. Her heart began racing, knowing that Indigenous people in the Twin Cities had also been disappeared, been taken by ICE. She called the rapid response number for her neighborhood. She stayed on the line with them as she turned corner after corner, leading the vehicle through a larger circle of her neighborhood that she was in. As she rounded one corner, she realized that there were two similar-looking vehicles behind the one immediately behind her. So she was being followed by several ICE vehicles. But still on the phone, she told this to the neighborhood response team, and a few minutes later, they showed up in the form of commuters. These are everyday people who drive around in their everyday cars to disrupt ICE. These are people just like you and me, dispatched by a person just like you or me, who would be sitting in their living room doing the dispatch work. They have no formal training to do this work. There is no standard operating procedures manual. But they're all in sync together on Signal and on their phones. And at the next stop, these commuters drove their cars in between the ICE agents and Kelly. And they slowed down, and a few more commuter cars came and kind of boxed the ICE agents in. And this kind of allowed her to get away. One car stayed with her, escorting her home, where she ran inside and collapsed into the arms of her loving family. The next morning on my visit back to Minnesota. It was even colder, if possible, than the day before. -18, my phone said when I woke up. I was staying at a colleague's house in the suburbs. She and the other minister, who was also staying there, were going to the airport to support the protest event that was going to happen there. I'm sure you all saw the news of 100 clergy folks who were arrested that day. In addition to those who were arrested, there were hundreds more who were also present at the airport who were singing and chanting and there to give their support, demanding ICE out, ICE out. I had decided to attend a different event that day in another church in South Minneapolis, this one in a Latinx neighborhood. The organizers had assembled a panel for us of everyday folks who were doing the varied work of protecting and helping their neighbors. They stressed to us, again, there's no handbook for this. This is, the phrase they kept using was decentralized organization. And I am telling you this because I know how we are. I know we want a handbook for this. I know we want somebody to be in charge of this. This is unprecedented. There are no books as to how to do this. There is no professional who is going to walk you through how to become a dispatch person in your living room. This is just neighbor by neighbor joining forces. Everyone finding their lane. Everyone is needed in this, especially white allies. Signal is the encrypted messaging app that is used by nearly everyone involved in what is happening in these kinds of things. They use it because it's encrypted, so it's harder for ICE to follow, but even sometimes ICE infiltrates some of those threads, and then they have to start a whole new thread. And there are threads for everything. I mean, these people's phones are constantly going off with messages. There are threads for school patrol monitors in the mornings and the afternoons when kids are getting dropped off at schools. There's neighborhood patrol threads. There's commuter and observer threads as to where to go to disrupt ICE and witness and record their actions. There's threads for people bringing groceries and supplies to family who can't leave their homes. There's threads for people providing rides and escorts to medical appointment. There are others who are managing donations and distribution of funds raised for rent support because so many people can't go to work, and some immigrant businesses have shut down completely. Still others are acting as those dispatches to coordinate all that and put it together. And then there are those who document intel. Yeah, intel. There's intel groups. They have documentation, spreadsheets of where ICE has been and who has been taken. They have a database of known ICE license plates and their vehicle descriptions, though ICE often thwarts this by swapping the license plates from vehicle to vehicle to make it more difficult. This is what's happening there. And all of this is done neighbor to neighbor. Again, no one person in charge. They act like a murmuration of birds, in sync together, adjusting, pivoting as they need to. One feeling where the other is going, and then they move that way, and then they move this way. All the while trying to elude their predators. We asked one of the folks on the panel if he could run us through a typical day when he's responding to needs in his neighborhood. And this was what he described as a typical morning when he's on patrol. A rapid response call comes in. He decides he's going to go out. He tells his group that he's going because you always tell somebody that you're going. Everything was over by the time he got to that location. Support had already been given to the family of the person who was detained. So he decided to go pick up another friend of his who was working school patrol that morning. After he picked her up, they saw a minivan, tinted windows with Tennessee license plates. They decided to follow. They followed, but they lost the vehicle. So they started heading back, and they saw another suspicious vehicle. And they followed it to a place where other ICE were along with bystanders, and a crowd had gathered. ICE got out of the car and surrounded him and told him to quit following them, which he did. Again, moments later, they got another call, and they hurried to that location, where a woman and her kids were just getting out of their car, and they ran into their house to avoid ICE, who was right behind them. Other commuters were there, honking, shouting, blowing their whistles, making as much noise as possible, getting themselves between ICE agents and this woman and her kids. The family made it into the house and locked the door with only seconds to spare. The ICE agents tried to bash the door down, but they failed. Too many observers were around, so ICE cut their losses and left, and that family was safe, at least for that morning. And we sat there and we listened to events of this typical morning, stunned, heartbroken. How could this be happening in our country? Our time with our panel was winding down, and we were just getting ready to have some soup that the folks in the church had made for us, most of whom were immigrants, when we were told that the church was on lockdown. ICE had been after someone a couple blocks away. They had taken another brown body from the streets. In the process of that, 2 observers had been injured, and they were now being treated in the church basement. The lockdown was to protect them and the immigrants present in the church, and to treat the observers and keep them safe from further harm. Again, it felt unreal. But knowing that I was going out for a march in 20 below weather, I had some soup. And after I finished the soup, I went downstairs to find a bathroom to use before heading out to that march. And as I turned the corner, I saw an empty room that had a medical exam table and a portable medical screen in it. And I realized that's where they were treating those observers, in this church basement. And I also realized that this church basement had a mock clinic set up for people who couldn't go to appointments, because ICE is also stationed at those clinics. A church just like ours, with a makeshift clinic in its basement. The lockdown at the church was cleared, and I headed downtown to join estimates of 50 to 75,000 other people marching in the streets of Minneapolis. How many of you saw footage of that day? It was crazy. It was the biggest crowd I've ever seen at a protest, and it was minus 15 degrees when we were marching. And I imagine how many people would have been there if it was just 15 degrees above zero, because I think it would have easily been 100,000 people. It was one of the most powerful experiences I've ever had. I didn't see any police officers in the whole march. They stood down and stood back. They let the people take care of themselves. The next morning, Saturday, I got up and packed my bag and headed to the airport to come back here to California. And I had just gotten to my departure gate when I heard the news about Alex Preddy. Another life lost in the terror of this fight. And my heart was so full of everything I had witnessed. My heart was so full, and it just shattered. Here in the Bay Area, people too raised their voices and shared their tears. Here in the Bay Area, ICE is also present, stealing our neighbors, tearing apart families, and destroying the fabric of a moral society. And so the question remains, what can we do? How do we build resiliency in these times? And here are the things I learned in Minnesota. I want to say something about Minnesotans here, though. And I'm trying to figure out where it is in your culture here as a new transplant. Minnesotans have to get through that winter every year. And it is ingrained in us that if somebody is stuck in the snow, you push them out. It doesn't matter if they're MAGA. It doesn't matter if they're a communist fairy. You push them out. We all push each other out of the snow. So how we get to that space here of learning to help our neighbors no matter what? The first thing that you need to do is get to know your neighbors. This is a densely populated area of the country. Get to know your neighbors, as many of them as you can, and do things for them, whether they are MAGA or communist fairies. Right? Bring them some lemons from your tree. Do whatever the equivalent is of shoveling their walk here. I don't know what that is, but there's something, right? Learn their kids' names. Learn what their struggles are. Next thing you can do is find your lane. They stress this to us over and over and over again. What is it that you can do? When it all hits the fan here, what can you do? Provide meals, provide rides, organizational skills. Do you need help flexing those skills? Great, we got plenty of opportunity for you to do that here. Join a hospitality team. Yeah, I'm gonna keep plugging that. I'm walking around with clipboards. I'm just finishing up those rosters and I need a few more people. See me after the service. You wanna know what else you can do? Yeah? This one's hard. This one you're going to resist. I don't like it. Think about the unthinkable right now. I'm with my colleagues last week in Albuquerque, beautiful Albuquerque, taking this meeting the moment track, which I'm like, duh. And they had us figuring out what we would do in our communities if martial law was declared. You guys, if friggin' martial law was declared, what are we supposed to do? Think about, I don't know. Doug's looking at me, I don't know. I'm like, yeah, I don't know either. The point is, we need to start thinking about that. We need to start thinking about, because we didn't expect things to be where they're at right now. And we don't know where they're gonna go. We got at least 3 more years of this. Think about the unthinkable. Be imaginative, be practical, make some plans, then think that through. Then if you're like, oh, that wouldn't work, then think of something else. Because when it does hit here, if that does hit here, we have to be ready. We won't have time. We won't have time. We need to be ready. So start thinking about those things. Leaders of this congregation, work with me, start thinking about those things. What, will we have a makeshift clinic here? I don't know. Those are things we need to think about. Think about the unthinkable. Not abstractly, but concretely, and make plans. And then tell people your plans. Next, continue to look for opportunities to gather with others to raise your voice. And it doesn't matter who you're following out for this. You follow Indivisible every week on Saturday. You can follow the students on Fridays. They seem to be doing Fridays. Before we know it, we're going to have things going on every day. I will tell you, there's some stuff happening now. There's so much coming down the pipeline. There's some new... Who loves Mr. Rogers? Right? There's some new Mr. Rogers-oriented, won't you be my neighbor thing that I'm just hearing about. That stuff's coming next week. You're nodding. Right? Like, I know it's coming. I'll try and share it with you in our MailChimp. Send it out to you. There's lots of things to get involved in. Learn how to raise your voice. That keeps pressure on the system. What else keeps pressure on the system is money. Know where your money is and know where it's going towards. And I will tell you right now, there are huge, huge voices trying to boycott Target in Minnesota. Please don't go to Target. I hope there might be some sit-ins or other things organized here. Target is one of the largest corporations in Minnesota, and they have been silent on this. And Target's usually a really good neighbor to Minnesotans, so we're a little disarmed by that and continue to push them. And remember that ICE was going to come here with a huge surge last fall, and they didn't because the tech billionaires called them off. So money talks with this administration. So make sure, as much as you're calling your senators or your congresspeople, just Keep sending emails every day to the Target CEO or other people like that who can put an economic pressure on this administration. Finally, one of the things that they had us do last week was to have a pod of 3 to 7 people. They talked about, oh, who's in your pod, all week long. Find a pod. I don't know, 3 to 7 people, neighbors, good friends that you trust, and make it a priority to check in on them. Make it a priority to call them regularly. Make it a priority to ask them what their plans are if martial law gets enacted, right? We live in very chaotic times. We have friends and family members who are at risk right now. There are people in this congregation who are at risk right now. We have to look out for each other. We have to look out for each other. So wrap yourself in love from others and wrap your love around them. And here's what I cannot tell you. I cannot tell you that this will end soon. And I'm going to be honest, I can't even say that we will win. Not for now. Maybe later. I don't know. I'm going to be honest. But I do know this, that we can face all of it held together, steadfast in love. That they can't take that from us. Right? Thank you for all that. I want to ask you all to help with a little gift now. My colleagues, my beloveds in Minnesota, they need your love and support, and they need constant reassurance that the world is watching them and that we've got their back. And so Jeremy's going to introduce a song in a couple of minutes, and the choir's going to sing it, and you'll be invited to help sing it. Hold on, Ferguson. And we're going to record that. So you're going to be on camera when you're singing, so maybe a little hand on your heart. And I want to send this to my colleagues at those Minnesota congregations to let them know that we're holding them in love. So if you could please join in that gift with me, that would be great.
Can we hold hands or something?
You can hold hands. You can show love however you need to show love.
So yeah, for our closing song today and for the gift that we're going to be sending to those who need it, we'll be singing the song Sending You Light by Melanie Demore. The way this song is constructed, as you can see on the screens, there is a chorus refrain that you intersperse verses in between. Let the choir and me take care of the verses. But whenever we sing a chorus, especially once you get a feel for the song, please feel free to join in. And if you're willing to rise for this song. Thank you.
Sending you light to
want to close with these always meaningful words from Reverend Wayne Arneson. Take courage, friends. The way is often hard, and the path is never clear, and the stakes are very high. Take courage, for there is another truth. You are not alone. Amen.